Hi everybody, I'm Gretchen. I was thinking about books, of course, but I find myself lately going back to books that I loved or have read before, just to kind of get a same taste of the words and the stories that I have loved for years. As I go back to read these books, I see different things and I feel different things. Taking a book like Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton, which is probably one of my all-time, top 5 all-time favorite books, and I read it in high school, and then I read it in college, and then I reread it just a couple weeks ago, and there's a character in there whose name is Xena, and she's a wife, and she is seemingly, at first read, as a high school student, just this bitter, old, mean woman to her husband. And why wouldn't her husband go off and seek other shores? And then as I read it as a college student, I kind of saw her a little differently, and I saw the struggle, and I saw the loss of hope, and I saw the kind of, the giving up, and I had a lot of sympathy for her. And now as an older woman who's married and has kind of been there, done that in a lot of ways, I find myself looking at her in a way that is both sympathetic and wanting her to want her own joy and to want her own freedom, because that's what I've done for myself. Something that gives me personal joy and sets off all the little are those moments when I find those new things or find those new discoveries and learn something about myself and about the characters that I've known and loved for years, like the Beverly Cleary Ramona series. Ramona and her not Ramona and her lover, Ramona and her mother. Now that would be a different book altogether. It's sweet and the print's pretty big, but again, instead of just seeing yourself, you can see the mother, and you can appreciate the stories for their simplicity and feel good about what you grew up on. But something else I've picked up recently, again, is a book I read in college called In the American Grain by William Carlos Williams. And this specific book I love to read because I underlined lots of things and put exclamation points and I put little notes, and I love to go back and think about what kind of revved me up when I was 20 years old, and to see that those things really still kind of resonate with me. But here's something that's kind of about America and where we were headed as a country in the eyes of this poet. It's about the land, and it's about rights, and it's about freedom, and it's about race, and it's about culture, and to see not just what has kind of changed since I last read it in the country, but what's changed in me and what I can bring to this, a new understanding of the way things work and a new appreciation for what he had to say. That's pretty powerful, I think. Don't you think it's powerful? Maybe the last time you read a book, you hated it. I can honestly say that when I was in high school, I read Catcher in the Rye and hated it. Hated it as a teenage girl. Reread it. I've reread it many times since then, but I reread it in college and I was like, what could I have ever hated about this book? Like Lord of the Flies that I hated in high school, and I haven't read it since then. And I'm going to reread it only because I think I need to peel the onion. I think that books give us a barometer or a benchmark of ourself and of our environment and of what we believe. Whatever values I had when I was younger that I don't have now, or at least that are different now and molded to my adult mind. And it helps me to kind of almost look at a photograph of where I was and where I am and compare the two. I can look at a book in a scholarly way. I've been trained to do that. Instead, I choose to look at a book under the filter of me, under the filter of who I am. And when I do that, it gives to me over and over again. Even just the physical nature of them can throw me back to who I was the last time I read it, what I believed, where I was, where I bought the book. It's a snapshot in time that kind of recreates itself every time I read it. So I hope that you have books that you love and that you read over and over again. My love of books and words and phrases, that's all part of my journey, and it's all part of something that just helps me grow to be who I am and to see how far I've come and how far I have to go. So maybe tell me in the comments below what books you've reread and what books have kind of changed for you over the years because of who you are, who you've become, or who you were and aren't anymore. Or books that you read once that you thought were simple and reread and have endeared you that much more to the words that they gave you or the perspective that you have now. Tell me about those books and go find a book that you love and love it again.